tous, this is Breeze Ricky coming to you from Paris, France, where I now live. I'm walking today on the Sarah Circle Winter Walk, as I do every year. I chose today because it's the coldest day we've had, and it's also snowed, which is quite unusual for Paris, but it reminded me of all our frigid winters in Chicago. And I'm so grateful for Sarah Circle for providing much needed housing to so many women. I chose today to stand with the Pantheon behind me, because the Pantheon is where a lot of famous people have been buried. People like Victor Hugo. And I thought about how they get these grandiose funerals. And unfortunately, when women who are homeless die, often from the frigid winters, they don't get those kind of funerals. So the women at Sarah's deserve the much needed services that Sarah's provides. So we must all continue to support Sarah Circle and continue to fight to end homelessness. Thank you. I'm with y'all in solidarity. Au revoir.
Hi everybody. Hi. I'm out here in Napa, California with my mama, and we're gonna do a winter walk a mile in her shoes.
Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Ragnar. I'm the Executive Director of Sarah Circle. First of all, thank you Breeze for that incredible welcome to this year's Winter Walk, all the way from snowy and cold Paris. You've been a tremendous supporter, and we can't think of a better person to kick off this year's very unique walk. This past year, we've had incredible challenges at Sarah Circle. Time after time again, the staff have risen to all the challenges to keep the ladies safe, to keep the staff safe, to provide more opportunities and more capacity to serve the women because of social distancing. We've opened up a second interim housing program. We've opened up a rapid rehousing program. And in the midst of this, we have completed our building, Sarah's on Sheridan, on time and on budget. The staff have done an amazing job. This has been incredibly stressful and many challenges, but never once did they falter. So as you watch this walk, if you would, keep in mind the theme of resilience. Think about the women that we serve and the things that they go through time after time again. And also keep in mind what our staff have done this year, their amazing amount of work. I hope you enjoy this walk. It's a unique walk for us. We've got some fun surprises. And while this is a great virtual event, on behalf of all the staff and the boards, we can't wait to be in person next year. So enjoy, and we'll see you at the end.
Hello everyone, Mary Lori Lightfoot here to welcome you all to Sarah Circle's 29th annual Winter Walk, a mile in her shoes. On any given night in Chicago, there are approximately 2,000 women who are without a home. This is simply unacceptable in our city. That's why Sarah Circle has worked tirelessly for nearly 30 years to help women experiencing homelessness. With the recent addition of Sarah's Circle's third building, Sarah's on Sheridan, there will be over 100 units of permanent supportive housing available to our city's most vulnerable women. This is great progress, but we can and must do more. By stepping up and working together through events like this one, I know we can find ways to help every one of our neighbors secure a home safely. On behalf of the City of Chicago, thank you all for being partners in our work to end homelessness in Chicago once and for all. And please, everyone, continue to be safe.
Hi, I'm Dakota. I'm the Volunteer Relations Associate for Sarah's Circle, and I'm here today talking with some of the ladies from the Admiral at the Lake who have been involved with Sarah's Circle for a while, also involved with Winter Walk for a while. So we have Ann, Joyce, and Joan on with us. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. We have a couple questions. Yeah, thank you. We have a few questions for you guys about just your involvement with Sarah's Circle, the Admiral's involvement with Sarah's Circle, as well as Winter Walk specifically. So the first question that I have is, how did you all individually become involved with Sarah's Circle? And then how did that kind of translate to the Admiral at the Lake being involved with Sarah's Circle?
I think Joan was probably the earliest of the three of us to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
I was the principal at St. Mary's School in the 70s, and we were very concerned about the women who were on the streets. And so we kind of looked around in the neighborhood and found out that there was a 2-flat that was down on Broadway, and that they were trying to attract the women to come in off the streets and come and, have conversations and, that kind of thing. Well, that to me then was the beginning of Sarah's Circle.
Yeah.
And it started with a very few women because people did not, they were very suspicious of anybody who was trying to change their way of life.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it caught into at night. There was a shelter on the first floor of the 2-flat, and the men used to try to get in. So my friend and I used to sleep there overnight on mattresses and keep men out.
Wow. So you were like the muscle.
Yeah,
you were the security.
Exactly. So we were muscled, which was pretty funny actually.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there was probably 5 or 6 women, probably not many more than that at the beginning. So yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Nice, cool. So did you kind of introduce Sarah's Circle to the Admiral once you started living there, or were you guys kind of all involved and then you just happened to be living in the same place?
Well, Joyce and I knew one another. We had bumped into one another over the years in Uptown. So I think that's, she certainly was more of a beginner than I was in terms of getting the Admiral involved. So Joyce, talk about that.
Well, I can't, somehow we became aware, Ann and Joan and I, that we all had been involved with Sarah's. What, Ann?
You know why? Because I think we were all invited. The Admiral was invited to go to an open house at Sarah's Circle. And when we got down there were a fair number of people who were really interested that had not been involved in the past. And I think that's when we realized that there might be interest in supporting it.
Okay, cool. And since you all live pretty close, it was pretty easy to within walking distance to remain in.
Well,
all the apartments.
Admiral is a neighbor of Sarah's Circle, and and so I always point out, the Admiral is a 501c3 charitable corporation like Sarah's, and our mission, the mission of the Admiral, is housing. So there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, very cool. As far as Winter Walk goes, who of you were involved with the first one? How did that come about? Joyce? Yeah.
I was with the first one.
And yeah. Okay, cool. Were you all just involved with the first one? Because you were already involved with Sarah Circle and the Admiral?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
was on the board. I was on the
Okay.
Sarah board at the time.
Yeah.
And we were in very bad financial shape. Sarah struggled for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
And we didn't have money to pay the rent.
Right.
And we needed to come up with something fast to pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
And we put together the Winter Walk in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we made about $2,200, managed to pay the rent.
Nice.
And it grew a little every year.
Yeah. How did it become an annual thing? Just because it was successful the first time? And
yes. And people enjoyed it a lot. And it really was not a huge lot of work for staff. I can't remember if it was the second or third year. There was a gentleman that I knew that I introduced to Sarah Circle, who was a poet and a writer. And the women, although at the time we didn't have that many men participating in Sarah's, but the women liked him, and he used to come and read to them and write things for them. And his daughter did architectural tours. So she volunteered to do architectural tours for people who were on Winter Walk and would guide people through the community while we walked.
Oh, very cool. So there's always been the sort of like guided tour walk component of Winter Walk.
I think it's been sporadic. I don't think it always was, but I think that people enjoyed it a lot, and I'm glad it's happening again. Yeah.
Was there always the kind of story paired with the walk, like the client story that we have?
Sure.
I think that's new. I mean,
that's new.
The young women that talked about the area. I don't think that started initially, though.
Yeah, they always did involve stories about the women because, the women are the most compelling part of Sarah's Circle.
Right. Yeah,
that is for sure. Yep.
And I think people love to hear about the women, and I hope the women enjoy telling their stories and being with everyone as much as everyone likes to be with them.
Yeah. We always have a pretty good showing of clients coming to Winter Walk as well. Obviously not this year, but typically when we have the in-person event. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's an opportunity for the volunteers and the staff and the women to all see one another too at the same, we could visit and talk with one another. And I think that was a good thing about the Winter Walk as well.
It's the first time that we all get together.
Yeah, definitely. And that'll be...
We used to volunteer, or at least I did, and some other people used to volunteer weekly.
Regularly, yeah.
Yeah, much more regularly. And serve food, or a lot of times we just go and sit and talk with the women or play cards or, whatever. And at that time, the shelter was open. Well, it wasn't really a shelter at the time, it was a drop-in. And we would stay till the ladies left to get in line for the overnight shelter, which was always a very kind of a moving and very touching thing. And I guess one thing that has always impressed me is how much pride the women have and how they manage to sustain themselves, even though they're homeless, or they were homeless, many more were homeless then. And I remember about 6:30 people would start kind of wandering off, and they would be in the bathroom, they'd get cleaned up. There was one lady, we remember those electric curlers. She used to heat up her electric curlers and cut her hair and then wrap a scarf around, and she would go off to the overnight shelter with the curlers in her hair.
What's fascinating now to me is seeing the younger people coming in to support Sarah, and I think that's terrific.
Does anybody else have any sort of like Winter Walk memories or stories that stick out to you? Maybe not necessarily related to the Admiral, could be just, you personally or related
I remember the first Winter Walk that we did. There was a woman friend of mine, Cindy Bronger, who was on the board. She had a friend, Cynthia Moreno, who was very into, I think she worked for DCFS actually, but she was really a very service-minded person. And so were her kids. And she got these kids on a mission from God to raise money from Sarah Circle, okay? These kids strong-armed all their classmates teachers, everybody at St. Benedict School.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
$400, and they were just little kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I still remember those little kids sitting with the bags of money.
That's very cool. You said that was
there were a couple of times when the weather was really bad.
Really bad?
Oh, yes.
Like snowy, cold.
Yes, and we were climbing over the ice at the curbs, and there was no no punking out and sitting and drinking coffee. We were out walking.
That's important. The dedication is important for sure. I know I'm looking out my window right now and it's like blizzarding. I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to decide when I'm going to take
the space that Joan was talking about was very interesting, because when I first started volunteering for Sarah's, we were there too, and it was pretty desperate.
Oh yes, I'd say so.
And she slept there too.
And she slept there. I mean, the bathroom was always, this is the case with a couple of them, the bathrooms were always broken.
Yeah.
It was really something else.
I think it was a slum landlord. I think it was.
Well, and the Center for Street People was on the first floor.
Yeah.
And it was very tough.
Very disorganized, I'd say.
Oh, golly. One day we had done a coat drive where I worked, and my husband, we parked on Broadway, and my husband was, he had like a pile of coats like this, and we were walking north to the Sarah's building, and women start running from everywhere and grabbing the coats. And my husband is going, wait, these coats are for the ladies at Sarah's. And I said, honey, those are the ladies.
Right.
That's who they are.
Right. Well, that was really efficient.
We didn't have to take upstairs, right? I think that the volunteers here just love Sarah's.
They do.
Yeah, you guys have remained very dedicated supporters, and I know before COVID and everything, you all would physically come once a month to do your meal service, and you've continued the donations through the pandemic, but unfortunately haven't been able to come on site. But I do think, it's just a testament to how good our relationship is with you all, and how great you guys are as supporters, because you've been there from the beginning, sleeping in the space to make sure that the clients stay safe. So that's really awesome. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to add before I close out on this little recording?
I don't think so.
Well, I think exposure to people who are homeless at the dinners has been beneficial to people who have never been exposed to homeless women. They're no different than anyone else. They're educated. They do different things.
I really feel like Sarah's Circle changed my life. I had never done much direct service volunteering before.
Yeah.
And I was already in my 40s when I started volunteering at Sarah's. And, I have a lot of bad stuff in my family, and people who, but for the grace of God and relatives, would have been homeless. And it just made all the difference to me to see the women and how strong they were, how they cope, and how positive they are.
Yeah. And another, how grateful they are for, any little thing. I can remember telling when we had wonderful cookies that somebody had made here. And I always said to them when we brought the cookies, these are homemade just for you. Well, it was just like, their faces just lit up. It was just wonderful to see, and they're so grateful for the littlest things. So, it's amazing. And I'm with Joyce. I think that direct service is a really important piece of this whole thing. You see it's a sobering thought. There's such a thin line between having a home and not having a home.
Sarah's Circle is committed to its core mission of ending homelessness by providing solutions and services to women experiencing homelessness in Chicago. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Sarah's Circle's capacity was reduced in order to keep the women safe. Keeping the women safe is paramount in continuing our mission to serve these women. In 2020, you helped Sarah's Circle keep all programs open and operational during the COVID-19 outbreak. Sarah's Circle staff swiftly and effectively implemented COVID-19 protocol across all programs and kept the women safe with 0 positive COVID test results. With all the limitations imposed by the pandemic, Sarah's Circle was still able to provide basic needs and supportive services to 450 women across our programs. 64 women were transitioned into permanent and stable housing, 46 women gained employment, 168 women had a safe temporary home in the interim housing program, and Sarah's on Sheridan opened its doors on time, offering more housing to women who desperately need it. Thank you to our supporters and staff for your steadfast commitment. Together, we will end homelessness for women in Chicago.
When you find yourself alone, your demons come to light, and your mind is not your own. Lonely is the night, when there's no one left to call. You feel the time is right, say the writing's on the wall. It's a high time to fight when the walls are closing in. Call it what you like. This time you got to win. Lonely, lonely, lonely. The spirit's sinking down. You find your
I'm Alderman James Kappelman of the 46th Ward, and I'm at the corner of Sheridan and Leland at the bus stop. And right across the street from me is the brand new Sarah Circle facility. There's a long story behind that. I remember Kathy Ragnar approaching me, telling me about this dream to have Sarah Circle, this brand new facility across the street. And I remember thinking, well, that's going to be pretty difficult because there's a lot of money to raise. But Kathy was determined. The need was there. She's going to make sure she's going to raise that money. And around that same time, I participated in a point-in-time count. If you don't know what a point-in-time count is, that's when volunteers all over the United States go out in the coldest night of the year, and we count people who are living on the streets at that point in time. And so I was traveling with about 2 or 3 other people, and we were going through streets in Uptown. And as we were driving the car, we stopped right here because I saw this figure leaning back with blankets all around to keep that person warm. And so I went up and took a pad of paper and a pen, had my gloves off, and approached this person, and it was a woman. And I asked this woman that, would it be okay if I interviewed her? We were doing this point in time count. And she said, sure. And she was just a very gracious, nice person. And so I started talking with her, and she told me her story. She had been caring for her mom, who was very, very sick. And she needed to quit her job so that she could care for her mom full time. And, you know, eventually her mom continued to decline in health, and her mom passed away. This woman, however, had no job, and she couldn't pay the rent, and so, plus she wasn't on the lease. So she was evicted. And here she was, right here at this bus bench. And I have to think about it, you know. It is prophetic that Sarah Circle had to be here. And yes, I thought it was completely impossible that we could ever get this funding, but it happened. It happened. And now we can address the needs of people like this woman who did so much to care for others. And now it's her chance. It's her chance to get the care she needs. So thank you, Sarah Circle. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathy Ragnar. I'm the Executive Director of Sarah Circle. And joining me this morning is Peter Stutz, Judy Krieger, and Josh Reitman, board members who have been incredibly involved in the development and opening up of our brand new building, Sarah's on Sheridan. Thank you for joining us virtually to our ribbon cutting, and we're delighted to have this building. We've got our interim housing ladies already moved in, and we're filling up the apartments for 38 women that have a history of chronic homelessness. So thank you for all your support that has made this building come to life, and we look forward to seeing you perhaps at another ribbon cutting.
I'm Kathy Ragnar. I'm the Executive Director of Sarah's Circle, and we are at Sarah's on Sheridan. This is a 6-story building. It's a brand new facility on the corner of Sheridan and Leland. And in this building, we have 38 units of permanent supportive housing for women that have a history of chronic homelessness, as well as brand new space for our 50-bed interim housing program. We work very closely with the City of Chicago, with the Department of Family and Support Services and HUD, and this is a permanent asset not only for Sarah's Circle, but for women that have a history of chronic homelessness in the city. Perkins & Will and Skender did a tremendous job. We've got a full functioning dry basement, which was key to us because down there we have a walk-in refrigerator and walk-in freezer. We have dry storage for our food, dry storage for all the items that we need for the agency and the women, a full laundry, as well as group rooms for the women. We have a commercial-grade kitchen because with the interim housing program, we're serving 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, so that's a lot of food. And so we have the kitchen down here, as well as dining for the 50 women. And then we'll have some special meals and opportunities for the women in the apartments to join us as well. There's 2,000 women every night who are homeless. So what can we do? And we can ratchet that number down. We can end homelessness for more women in the city of Chicago. So come and join us. We have a lot of different options and we appreciate the help. We wanted a beautiful building that reflects not only the character of the neighborhood, but also a building designed with the women in mind. Brinshore is one of our key partners with Mayor Brown and Perkins and Will and Nuskender to get these buildings built. And they provide the development and construction management oversight. We've had amazing support from our local alderman, James Kappelman. And to get this is our second building that we've built here in Uptown, and he has been with Sarah Circle and incredibly supportive from day one. In addition to our alderman, we've had amazing support from the Commissioner of Housing, Marissa Navarro. Marissa did a wonderful job speaking at our ribbon cutting. So while our mission has stayed the same, we have grown quite a bit, and our goal is to end homelessness for women. And every year the staff are ending homelessness for over 100 women every year.
Thank you for coming to the virtual winter walk for this year of 2021. Sarah Circle welcomes you to this roundtable discussion of what we do and how we are building these apartments for the women that we're trying to house, and that we hope that you will join in hands with us to keep this going so women can be housed here in Chicago.
Hello, I'm Judy Krieger, and I'm on the board of Sarah Circle and have been for a few years. Our church has been supporting Sarah's and is very happy to be a help in what Sarah's does.
Hi, I'm Peter Stutz. I'm a board member at Sarah Circle and also the chair of the Housing and Facilities Committee. I'm an architect by day and really looking forward to helping to build more housing for women.
Hi, I'm Josh Reitman. I'm on the board of directors and I'm also the board treasurer. I too have been on the board for a few years and it's one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ragnar. I'm the executive director of Sarah Circle, and I've got the greatest job in the city. I get to work with all these phenomenal board members. We're building housing for women who are homeless, and every day there are fewer women who are homeless in the city of Chicago because of all the work the staff and the board members do. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather McGuire. I'm also a board member. I'm also a client of Sarah Circles. They listen to us and adapt to the times of how to help other women, homeless women, to be housed. So Judy, Sarah Circle used to be a place where women could go for the day. And then you guys became a homeless shelter. What got you ladies into going into having your own building and housing women?
One day, Kathy talked to me and she said, we can build a building and have apartments of our own. And I thought that was just a terrific idea. Go for it, Kathy. You can do it, do it. So we went around and started asking people for money. people gave. It was incredible to see the donations that came in, but we worked really hard. It was just amazing to watch it go up. And then there were 10 apartments. And I sat at my church mission meeting, and they said, "Are you ever going to do something like this again?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely not. We couldn't possibly." And then just a few years later, the building on Leland was available.
Who have ever thought in 2008 that we'd have this many units? Unbelievable.
I certainly wouldn't. I was just overwhelmed with 10 apartments. I thought that's the end of what we could possibly do.
And we're looking at another 28 units with the new building?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but with our community base, we'll have over 100 units, 101.
Amazing.
Yeah. And this is part of a strategy that we developed with a strategic planning process after we moved into the Judy Krieger apartments back in 2012. We looked at the benefit of having our own apartments and co-locating the apartments in a building that had a program. And in this, with the Judy Krieger apartments, that's the daytime program. So we started on a strategy to develop another property that would include very much needed apartments for women that have a history of chronic homelessness, and that we would include the interim housing program. So this has been a part of a very long-term strategy. And now, as you know, we are on to number 3. It's going to be 5 stories, and we're going to co-locate program space for women that are in our permanent housing program. And after we get this number 3 built, we're going to have over 100 units of permanent supportive housing.
Josh, how is Sarah Circle going to pay for the new building?
Well, it's teamwork. It's teamwork. It's hard work on behalf of Kathy and her team, along with support from the community and the aldermen and donors like everyone here today. That's how it happens. When we looked at our first building, 4838, 10 years ago, we were putting in a new place for our offices, and we were going to have 10 permanent housing units. And we were so excited. We were over the moon. It was such a process to get to that point. I don't think we ever would have thought that 12 years later, not only will we have had a ribbon cutting on a second property with 38 permanent housing units and another 50-unit overnight shelter program, but we're looking at a third building across the street, which will serve as permanent housing for another 28 women, bringing our total to 100 women that we were able to house on a permanent basis in the city of Chicago. And the way we were able to do it is just through sheer will, the will of Sarah Circle and the support of the community and the support of the donors. And without all of us and everyone in this room, everyone out there watching today, we wouldn't be able to be where we're at. And so, I couldn't be more amazed and more appreciative of what we've been able to accomplish. 100 units down, another 1,900 to go. I know we'll get there.
What does the building look like?
Thanks for asking, Heather. We'll again be working with Perkins & Will to design this building, and as such, we'll have a consistent look to the buildings similar to our previous developments. The renderings will be on the website shortly. Also, with the design of the buildings, we not only have a consistent Sarah Circle brand, but we take into account the neighborhood as well. The buildings fit in well, and we believe add value to the neighborhood.
What are the apartments like?
All of Sarah Circle's apartments are studios. They're approximately 320 square feet. The apartments all have windows, are fully furnished, have their own heating and cooling systems. Additionally, building amenities include complimentary laundry, computer labs, on-site case management, and a reception area staffed 24/7.
Who lives in Sarah Circle's apartments?
Sarah Circle provides housing for women who have a history of homelessness. And many of the women that we serve have been homeless for decades. And our goal Our mission with our agency is to end homelessness for women. Our first priority is housing stability, and we are very happy to say that for the women living in our permanent supportive housing units, we have a very high housing retention rate. So we are able to permanently end a woman's homelessness. From there, we work with the woman to increase her own self-sufficiency and her overall sense of wellness.
You know, I've been like, what is it, with you guys, I think since, what is it, around 2001, 2002, my mother and I. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, like, it was just back then, it was just a day shelter for the women to go because nobody wanted to go down where all the guys were. Sarah's Circle continues to grow. How does the agency plan to pay for the operation of the buildings?
Well, Heather, every apartment has a rental subsidy tied to the apartment itself, and it's either from HUD, CHA, or Chicago Low Income Trust Fund. With these subsidies, Sarah Circle is able to operate each building with sufficient cash flow to keep the property at optimal standards, as well as offset operating costs with the program co-located in the building. Additionally, the agency makes sure that there are substantial reserves for each property to ensure that over the years, the buildings are kept up and all building systems are replaced as needed.
What's next for Sarah Circle?
Well, we'll keep at this. We are committed to ending homelessness for women in Chicago. So we have a way to go. We have a very committed and energetic board and a terrific staff. So the sky is the limit. We are able to develop the housing we do and provide the services in all programs because of our tremendous supporters. Every year, thousands of individuals support Sarah Circle. Many have been supporting us for decades. And with the commitment, we are able to grow to increase our capacity and end homelessness for more women in Chicago.
And we have come a very long way because, Judy, I do remember sitting in your living room and you asked me, can we get this done? I said, yes, we can do this. Because what you talk about, the generosity of people, but it's that common belief in the dignity and worth of all the women we serve. And when we tap into that from so many different people, there's nothing we can't do. And that's testament to these buildings now.
It's been a true community effort. It really has. The community has rallied behind Sarah Circle, and I think we have momentum. And that momentum is going to take us beyond Building 3. It's going to take us to 4 and 5. And you know what? I'm starting to believe that sky's the limit. We can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Winter Walkers.
The thing I came away with was anyone can suffer from homelessness.
We pass homeless people every day in Chicago and we don't talk about it.
We got to look out for all humans.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Ask you anything?
Yeah, do you have any questions?
Okay.
How are you today?
Good. Welcome.
Hi. I saw the sign and I had to stop by and ask her something.
Did you ever get sick?
Yeah, I had to have surgery.
I have bioschizoaffective. My mom was also mentally ill. I had always struggled. I started drinking when I was about 13 and started doing drugs when I was about 15.
I do have a background in administrative work. Worked for a psychiatrist for 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always maintained a job. I've always worked. I remember a time when I was working, and I had to sleep outside. I didn't get a lot of sleep.
Oh, no.
No, sleep deprived.
It can be a hopeless situation.
13 years, I just couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. It's frightening to be homeless because you feel like there's nothing, you're the only one out there.
I went through homelessness myself. It was a nightmare. I never thought that it could happen to me. People have a preconceived notion of homeless people. Things can happen such as an illness. You can lose a job. It can happen to anybody. It can. Anybody, you never know.
Did you sleep outside ever?
I've never slept outside.
Wow.
And that is one of the reasons why it is so important to support homeless shelters.
I needed a safe space that I could go to. And Sarah's Circle actually had a program, a daytime program.
Sarah's Circle.
Yeah, Sarah's Circle is a program that helps rebuild women's lives.
So it's particularly for women.
Yes, it is.
Okay, is that Sarah's
That's
Circle
right
over
here.
there? Oh,
This
that's
is Sarah's
great.
Circle right there. Yeah.
All of it comes together. They need the beds, the showers, food to eat, and also medical attention.
Yeah.
They have job programs. They have
So cool.
counseling, case managers.
They're like an umbrella. They have so many opportunities within Sarah's Circle to rebuild your life, and they give you the tools to do it.
And that's why it is so important for these type of organizations to get funding, to continue to help people.
Yeah.
And with COVID-19, more of it is going to be needed. And definitely, Sarah's Circle has been one of the shining lights in my life. If it had not been for them, yes, I would not be sitting here today.
Sarah's Circle helped me rebuild my life. I've been clean for 2 years, so it feels good. Yeah. Thank you. And I signed my 2nd-year lease.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. If I can do it, anyone can do it. You can overcome hopelessness.
You've inspired me today, so
thank you.
So, well, thank you.
You gave me life. You gave me life today.
Hi again, everyone. That concludes this year's Winter Walk. This has been a lot of fun putting it together, and the development team with Craig, Dakota, Sarah, Lee have done an amazing job, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And while this has been fun and a different type of walk, we are all looking forward to being together in person next year. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support. And on behalf of the staff and the board and all the women that we serve, please stay healthy and safe, and we will be together next year. Thank you.